Most parents think that in order to buy an investment property while their son or daughter attends a university like Texas A&M is going to cost them $50, $75, or $100,000 just in down payments alone. But that's not true. In fact, you can put down a fraction of that. And today we're going to cover the real cost of buying an investment property here in Bryan-College Station for your Aggie student. We're going to go over closing costs, loan options, and how the parents that I work with are actually funding deals today. At the very end of the video, I'm going to break down the significant difference between renting and buying so that you can see why so many Aggie parents are making the decision to purchase an investment property and how much money they're actually making off of that decision. Of course, all of that and more on your favorite channel, Investing in Bryan-College Station, Texas, where it's my goal to help you grow your wealth through real estate right here in Aggie land. Just like your primary residence, when you're looking to buy an investment here in Aggie land for your son or daughter, you're going to have two major expenses, two categories of expenses: closing costs and down payment. Let's start with closing costs. Closing costs are all of that money that you pay at the day of closing. Usually you wire it to the title company or you bring in a cashier's check, and that covers all the fees associated with the transaction. Now, these can be title fees so that they can file it on your behalf. This could be the loan origination fees. This could be appraisals and inspections. It can be your insurance and your prepaid taxes. Guys, it's a lot. Usually I say if you're buying a $300,000 house, expect somewhere in the range of $9,000. But for a lot of you, you really want to know exactly what goes into closing costs. Don't worry, I've got you covered. I broke down all of the components of closing costs on a PDF. Go down to the description below. There's a link. Click on the link. I'm going to send you the exact PDF. So the next time you buy a house, you know exactly what you're paying for at closing and demystify closing costs. Well, with closing costs out of the way, we know that if we're buying a $300,000 house, we're looking at about $9,000. With closing costs out of the way, let's talk about how you're going to finance this house. The most basic one, and I will throw this out there real quick, is cash. A super low risk way to invest in real estate, and a lot of my clients choose to go the cash route. Of course, you will need a whopping $309,000 to buy that $300,000 house cash. So that might not be an option for a lot of us. Let's talk about the most common loan product, and that is the investment loan. So if you were to go to the same bank that gave you the loan on your house and say, I'm going to look to buy a house for my daughter to live in while she goes to A&M, they'll probably recommend an investment loan. These are usually 15 to 25% down, and they usually have an interest rate that's about 0.5% higher than what you would get for your primary house because they see it as a slightly riskier loan investment. They're going to treat it like a rental property. So they're going to want to know what the rental potential is for this property. And this is a really good option, very simple option to get a loan. They're very common out there. But yeah, you're going to have to put $60,000 down. So what if there was an option out there where you could put half of that down? What if we could decrease that down payment from 60 to 30? And that would be using a secondary home loan. Guys, this is like a beach house or a lake house. If you're planning on using this house for personal use, so maybe you plan on coming to 2 or 3 games to parents' weekend, you plan on coming to town for a few baseball games or a few events in Aggie land, you're going to use it for your personal use, and your son or daughter is also going to happen to live there. Now you have the option of using secondary home loan, 10% down. It's very similar interest rates to what you would get on your primary residence. So it's better interest rates than an investment loan, and it's a lower down payment. But it can be a little bit tricky because you do have to have the ability to use it for personal use, which means you probably need to leave at least one bedroom vacant so that you can show that you're using it, personally. But that's a better discussion to be had with your lender. All right. So besides the secondary home loan, what else is available to you? Well, there is an owner-occupied loan because after all, you do know the guy or gal living there. It's your son or daughter. So you could use a conventional 3 to 5% down loan. And this is specifically if your student is occupying the property. You could either be the parent on the loan in what we call like a kiddie condo loan, or you could co-sign for your son or daughter and put it in their name. In both cases, you only need to put 3 to 10% down. So we're talking about $9,000 to $30,000. Similarly, you could use an FHA loan, 3.5% down. Now we're talking $10,000 to get into the house. These are best fit where your son or daughter is living there. And of course, you're comfortable with the higher leverage and the fact that the loan might be in their name. I think this is an excellent option. And there's some really good tax advantages to making this not just an investment property, but a primary residence for your son or daughter. Again, these are the types of strategy sessions that we discuss when you work with us at Schwartz Realty Group. We help you go through all of the different options and see what's a good fit for you. Speaking of which, you could always buy the property in an LLC. A lot of my clients like to do this for asset protection. But here's the kicker. You can't use traditional mortgage products when you're buying in an LLC. You're probably going to be looking at either a commercial loan. That means you're going to the other side of the bank, the commercial side of the bank, the side of the bank that gives out business loans, and you're going to get a loan to purchase the property, likely needing 20 to 30% down, so a larger down payment. Or you could buy with what they call a DSCR loan. This is a specialized loan product that takes the income of the property to help you qualify for it. This is also good for my parents who maybe already have multiple investment properties. This could be a good option for those folks. In both cases, very specific type of situation where you want to buy the house in an LLC, or maybe you're in a situation where you can't get pre-approved for the other loan products. So commercial loans, DSCR loans, really good options for that. So your down payment's gonna be somewhere between $9,000 and $75,000. Tack on an additional $9,000 in closing costs. Guys, this is no small amount of money. So I do have some tips and tricks for both coming up with the down payment, but also covering the closing costs. Let's start there. The market right now in 2025 is pretty dang soft. It's so soft, in fact, that a lot of my buyers are getting seller credits, seller concessions. They're getting money towards closing to help cover your closing costs. So I will go on a limb here and say we can get some, if not all of your closing costs covered by the seller. Of course, that's one of our specialties here at Schwartz Realty Group. All right, that covers the closing cost. What about this huge down payment? Well, there are 4 ways that I see that folks come up with these down payments, how they fund the down payments. First and foremost, pretty obvious, the good old savings method. This is great if you're watching the video and your son or daughter is still a freshman in high school. You've got some time, so let's put a plan together and save every single month so you have the down payment. Number 2, tap into your equity in your home. You might not even have thought about this, but if you've lived in your house for 5, 10, 15 years, you probably have a lot of equity in it. And you can tap into that equity through either a cash out refinance or a home equity line of credit, also known as a HELOC. A third option would be to tap into your retirement account. I don't love this option, but it is an option. You can either take a loan against your retirement account or actually do a withdrawal and use that to put the money into this investment property. Because after all, it is an investment. So really, you're just taking money out of one investment vehicle and putting it into another. Of course, talk to your financial advisor about the specifics. And then lastly, this is more common than you would think, and that is to get a gift for the down payment. I have a lot of clients whose grandparents are willing to gift them some, if not all, of the down payment amounts. In fact, I'm working with somebody right now who's in that very specific situation. So you can be gifted the money for a down payment. But you might be asking yourself, okay, Greg, well, it's a lot of money and I got to do a lot of work to come up with that down payment. Is it worth it? Well, rough math, guys. Let's run through some numbers real quick. If you're going to be putting, let's say, 20% down on an investment loan, your monthly payment, including tax and insurance, will be around $2,000 a month on that $300,000 purchase. If you're going to be using an FHA loan on the other side of the spectrum, you have less money down, so you're going to have a higher monthly payment. Expect your monthly payment to be closer to $2,500. But the good news is you're offsetting that expense with income. If you buy a 4-bedroom house, which is my general recommendation, you should be able to generate about $700 to $800 per bedroom. $700 times 3 bedrooms means you're bringing in $2,100, offsetting a large portion of that mortgage payment, which is great news. In fact, when I stretch this timeline out, most people are going to see a return or a profit at the end. We're talking about everything accounted for, from maintenance to monthly expenses. At the very end, you're going to profit usually somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000, which might not sound like a lot until we compare it to the alternative, which is paying for rent for 48 months at, I don't know, $750 a month times 48 months. You're talking about $36,000 gone. You might as well burn it. So would you rather lose $36,000 or make 10 to 20? Guys, we're talking about a $46,000 to $56,000 difference between parents paying rent every month and parents buying a house/investment for their son or daughter. Don't take my word for it, guys. I have an entire video where I break down the math of what I just covered. I titled that one, Why Renting for TAMU Students is a $36,000 mistake. Check it out. I'll have a link here. That should be the next video to watch. While you're at it, check out my entire playlist designed for student rentals here in Aggie land. It will tell you not just how to analyze these properties, but what communities I recommend you check out that tend to be favorable for students. Guys, I will have all of that and more every single week when I drop new videos. So while you're at it, hit the subscribe button. I drop a new video every single week. And my only ask is until next week, when I drop the next one, you take it easy.